Hello everyone, this is Chris with OpsHead. Today we're going to go over the assault rifles and their attachments. We're going to put them into a tier list, with tier 1 being the best, tier 4 being the worst. So for the assault rifles, our tier 1 weapons are going to be the M8A7, the Shiva, and the XN44. These are going to be the best assault rifles. They're going to have the most all-around effectiveness. The M8A7 was absolutely amazing in the beta. It's slightly worse now with a slightly reduced fire rate. However, it's still one of the best weapons in the game. It's still 2-burst kill, and it's still pinpoint accurate. The Shiva is very much like the FAL or the SMR from Black Ops 2. It's semi-automatic with 2-hit kills with the chest, and if you put the high caliber attachment on there, it's actually 1-hit kills to the head, which is absolutely fantastic. Then we have the XN44, which is basically the AK-47 of Black Ops 3. It's good at everything. It fires quickly, it has quick time to kill, manageable recoil, and is really accurate. Even without a single attachment, this is one of the best guns in the game. The Tier 2 weapons are going to be the XR2 and the ICR1. These are still really, really good weapons. They're just not quite as good as those Tier 1 weapons or have some minor drawbacks. The XR2 is a lot like the M8A7 in that it's a burst fire, 2-burst kill. However, you can hold down the button and it will keep bursting, unlike the M8A7 where you have to click every time. It's also worth noting that with the laser sight on it, the XR2 is the most accurate assault rifle from the hip. The ICR1 is simply the most all-around easy-to-use weapon. It is extremely manageable, it shoots relatively quickly, it has very little recoil, and it can kill modestly fast. It's not going to have the time to kill of some of the better weapons, but it's really easy to actually aim and hit your opponents, so sometimes that time to kill will be lower. Your Tier 3 weapons are going to be the Man of War and the HVK-30. These, again, are still good weapons, but they actually have some drawbacks that aren't present in the higher weapons, and their damage or time to kill isn't quite there. The Man of War does a lot of damage, but the rate of fire is just way too low for it to be super competitive. You have to hit with every shot, and that's very difficult to do. Even with rapid fire on there, the Man of War does not have a time to kill to rival the M8A7 or the Shiva, so it's just not one of the better weapons. The HVK-30 is the exact opposite issue. It fires extremely fast and is very, very hard to manage. If you manage to hit with all the bullets, it does kill relatively quickly, but that's very, very hard to do. And you're going to run into ammunition issues very quickly. There are no Tier 4 assault rifles. I feel like all of the assault rifles are worth using and quite good, and Tier 4 would be like bad weapons that aren't worth using. In terms of optics, our Tier 1 is going to be the reflex sight and the ELO sight. Both of these are good because they keep most of your peripheral vision in line while still letting you aim a little better. The ELO is basically iron sights just with a red dot. Our Tier 2 is going to be the BOA-3. BOA-3 is basically a reflex sight that brightens up red or blue based on enemies or friendlies. I don't see the point of that, except maybe in hardcore mode, and it does have some drawbacks that aren't present in the reflex sight, so it's not quite as good, but it's still going to be Tier 2. Tier 3 is going to be the Recon and the thermal sight. The Recon is just your standard scope. It's okay if you want to sit back with like a Shiva and snipe, but generally speaking, it's not great. The thermal is great for picking up targets, but you sacrifice all of your peripheral vision and mobility, so it's not going to be that great in those situations. We do have a Tier 4 optic. It's going to be the Varix 3. It's just very cumbersome to use, and there's really no reason to use it over one of the other sites. And then in terms of actual attachments, our Tier 1 is going to be Rapid Fire, High Caliber, and Stock. Rapid Fire and High Caliber just increase your damage across the board. You fire faster, and you get more damage from headshots. That can't be beat. Stock very much increases your mobility. It lets you move while ADSing. It makes you harder to hit and makes it easier to aim. Your Tier 2 attachments are going to be the Laser Sight, Full Metal Jacket, and Long Barrel. The Long Barrel and Full Metal Jacket will increase your damage, but only in certain situations. The Long Barrel especially, since these assault rifles already have significant range, usually isn't that useful. On the HVK, however, it can really improve the damage at mid-range. The Laser Sight, same kind of thing. You're not going to be doing an awful lot of hip firing with an AR, so it's not always going to be great, but on the XR2, it makes it really, really accurate, so it's very worthwhile there. Tier 3, we're going to have the extended mags and fast mags. These both do the same basic thing, just in two different ways. If you're running into ammunition issues, these are perfectly valid choices, so they do belong in Tier 3. They're not bad choices. And then in Tier 4, we actually have Quick Draw, Grip, and Suppressor. The Quick Draw and the Grip run into the same issue in that they have very little impact on the mechanics of the game. They've been described mostly as placebo attachments, in that they change animations or they change the way you see things, but they're actually not having a huge effect on how accurate you are or how quickly you're pulling up your gun. The Suppressor is a surprise to be in Tier 4, in that it used to be one of the best attachments in Call of Duty. However, in Black Ops 3, with Ghost being very bad and UAV spam being very common, and the Suppressor lowering the damage and range more than it has in previous games, the Suppressor is no longer a very good attachment. That might change over time, but right now I have to put it in Tier 4. Just keep in mind that these are impressions from the very first days of the launch, and they're likely to change as the game evolves or as balance patches come in, so we'll make sure to update our tier list as we go. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.